Thank you and welcome to the Planning Board meetings of Tuesday, October 3rd. The meetings are on Milford TV and are recorded live. The Planning and Engineering staff and the Planning Board early this morning received news that Planning Board member Ted DiPaolo had passed away. For those that don't know, Ted was recently elected to the Planning Board, and he's certainly shown in that short period of time his knowledge and history of the town of Milford and his commitment to the people of the town of Milford, not only as a member of the Planning Board, but as a previous member of the Milford Firefighters Department. With that, I'd like to offer, and the board and the Planning and Engineering staff would like to offer Ted's family and friends our deepest condolences. And I'd like for us to recess the meeting and stand for a moment of silence in Ted's honor. Thank you. With that, I'll open the meeting up. First thing is our meeting minutes from our previous meeting.
Make a motion, we sign the
Motion by Babe to sign the, to approve the meeting minutes as submitted. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Joe. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I will abstain as I wasn't here. I know it's procedural, but seeing how we do have a majority, I will just abstain from that. So it's 3 in favor, 1 abstention. We have no 81Ps today. I do have 702, so we do have one public hearing, Larry, if you want to read the notice.
Milford Planning Board, notice of public hearing on Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023, in Room 3 of Milford Town Hall, 52 Main Street. The Milford Planning Board will, at the times designated, conduct public hearings regarding the following. 7:02 p.m., application of the Planning Board to amend the zoning bylaw and zoning map by rezoning 70 parcels or portions thereof located south of Central Street, along and in the vicinity of Depot Street and the Charles River, from IA Central Industrial A District and IB Highway Industrial B District to BP Business Park District, RA General Residential District, and RB Single Family Residential District, and consisting of a total of 85 plus minus acres. The full application and/or maps of the above items are available for public inspection at the Office of Planning and Engineering, Town Hall, 52 Main Street, during normal business hours. The notice was published in the Daily News on 9/19 and 9/26/2023.
Thank you, Larry. There is nobody in the audience. I will read one letter that we did receive, and then I'll open it up to the board for comments, questions as we move forward. We did receive one letter from the owner of the former Archer Rubber parcel. Please let this email serve as notice that the current owner, Buratech Archer Acquisition Corp., objects to any proposed rezoning of the land from its current usage, which is, I am reading this exactly so the English is not mine, which is central industrial on the parcels owned by the above referenced entity. We are not in agreement with this change at all. This change in zoning severely impacts the value and will have a great financial impact on the entity and limit the entity's current land use rights. We request that this matter be removed from any votes, warrants, initiatives, or other zoning initiatives. We will have our council follow up. Thank you for the time in this manner. As I had spoken to Larry before, I'm not quite sure that the people would have read or are aware of what our business park allows or doesn't allow compared to the current zoning. So I'm not sure why they feel that this is severely impacting them. It in fact, I believe, gives them a greater possibility of redeveloping that parcel in light of the fact that the Charles River runs through, I won't say the middle of it, but runs through a large portion of that, and that that river, although it's been disturbed in that area, will have a significant impact on the ability of that parcel to be redeveloped, and will have to be addressed as part of that. So I don't really agree with what the owners, the current owners of the Archer property are stating. And unfortunately, they're not here to go over that with them and to try to explain what the business park zoning allows them to do or not do. But I think we're looking at those parcels, including the Archer parcel, and trying to figure out what is the best method forward for that whole area, and try to bring a lot of parcels that are in there into conformance, and also to allow for the possible redevelopment of that area of town. And I don't believe that anything that we're doing, changing that to the business park zone, would affect that. And with that, I'll turn it over to other members of the board for comments, concerns, and questions. As you know, we will have to give a recommendation to town meeting at the October 30th town meeting.
Most of the time, I'm against a lot of the zoning, but this is one parcel that rezoned to BP is, I think would be beneficial to the town. I think it's a good idea. It's going to safeguard the Water Resource District and the rest of the area. I think it's the best thing.
Yeah,
Joe, Chris?
Yeah, just to add on to what Babe had said, and to kind of agree with him that certainly, yeah, we're looking towards developing that land and making it more beneficial to the town and from the development side. So by changing the zoning, I think that's going to, help out that part of it. And we also, again, want to protect that resource. As we keep stating, the Charles River runs right through the middle, so therefore we just want to protect that water resource also. So.
What's it currently zoned? That's
It's,
section?
well, depends on which parcel you're talking about.
Just the
Arches.
Archer rubber.
Arches, IA.
IA, right? Yeah.
Aye.
Industrial.
For those who are watching, Joe, it might help if I could run through the text on the article form that we had to submit to put it on the warrant, that just generally, in a little bit different language, says what everybody's already said.
Yep.
This proposal would change the zoning of a number of properties in the vicinity of the former Archer Rubber facility from IA Industrial to BP Business Park, and also residential zones further south that are adjacent. Generally, the area covered is south of Central Street and extends southerly approximately 0.8 of a mile along the Charles River to the vicinity of, and including the Godfrey Brook Wellfields. The area is within the WR1 Water Resource Protection Overlay Zone due to its location over the aquifer, and has been actually inappropriately zoned for a number of years. In fact, the 2003 comprehensive plan had recommended zoning changes in this area, and with the Archer building having been demolished now it's an appropriate time to consider rezoning this area. While the primary focus is for the application of the BP Business Park District in the Central Street area, approximately 2/3 of the overall 80 acres, the overall rezoning would replace the existing IA district with RC and other adjacent residential districts. As we had mentioned at previous meetings, before this public hearing, of that 80 acres, approximately 60 of it is actually town-owned, which does include the entirety of the Godfrey Brook Wellfields. Cleaning up the maps is definitely a positive move as far as I can tell. There are maps attached to your packet, and there are also a little bit larger maps under your packets on 11 by 17 pages. Basically, just quickly, other than the aerial photo, obviously, that shows the entire area, and the existing and proposed zoning maps that we've been looking at now for a number of months. was finally able to get our GIS to print the wetlands in the area, which are extensive, obviously, with the Charles River running through the entire area. Also, I was able to get the floodplains to print. That's the one that has a substantial blue streak through it, the light blue area. So this would be like the next to the last map, are the wetlands. And again, the floodplains, covers an extensive amount of the area, including obviously the wetlands. And then the last map is the aquifer map from the state, which is essentially the same as our newly amended water resource protection overlay zone. So with all of those constraints in this area, I think the last thing we need to do is retain an IA zoning district in it, so.
Yeah, I think, in addressing the owner of the Archer Rubber specifically, with that being in the WR1 zone, their ability, not that I think that that's a reasonable thing to expect, but the ability to put in a building like Archer Rubber was and do that kind of that type of work would be severely limited because it's in the WR1 zone and is probably not economically feasible in the first place. So the fact that it's a business park zone and allow them to put various business usages in there and can work around the river seems to me to be a much better option for them, and if they truly plan on either redeveloping it or selling it to somebody else, at the highest cost or highest price. So.
Yeah, it should help market it.
Right.
Since normally on zoning amendments like this, excuse me, whether it's just a textual amendment or a map change, we do send a packet with the warrant when the clerk mails the warrant to the town meeting members. So I can put together not only our report, which we're required to do at town meeting anyway, but include some of these maps, because I do a two-sided duplex copy. So we could do 4 or 5 duplex sheets that includes the report, the background information, and many of these maps that might help town meeting members get a handle on what it means.
Yeah, I think we should definitely include one that shows the existing zoning, what the
Right.
new zoning will be. I think the other thing that would be important is to highlight the town parcels that are already owned within there, so that really we come down to 20 to 25 acres that we're talking about in terms of what's being rezoned if we take out the 60 acres of town-owned land to begin with. So I think it would be good to show that on that as part of that, Larry. And then you can certainly add in the Charles River 100-year flood plain map and the
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if we can find a way to tag those
Yep.
those 2 town parcels.
Yep. Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, we want to
Send a recommendation to town meeting.
send a favorable recommendation.
We need to close the public hearing,
Yep.
and, yeah.
Yeah, close the public hearings, send a favorable recommendation to the town meeting.
Motion by Babe to close the public hearing and send a favorable recommendation to town meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Chris. Any further discussion? Hearing not, all those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous at 4, Larry.
Thank you.
As I said before, no 81Ps. The only other thing was the comprehensive plan update and timeline. I don't know if you have anything to offer. Obviously, funding, if everything goes as expected, will become available after the October 30th town meeting. But I'm not sure if you've spoken to MAPC.
Yeah, a couple of things, actually. The first is that it's, the funding article is Article 20 on the warrant.
Yep.
The zoning, the rezoning that you just held a hearing on is Article 42. I was able to hear back from Mark Rassicot at MAPC, because I wanted to tie down how they were going to handle the funding, since the grant is primarily from MAPC itself anyway, and we're hiring their planning department as the consultant, and I just was trying to get a handle on how that was going to work. They're going to handle that all internally, so they'll bill back to themselves or against themselves, against the grant, whatever staff time they spend on certain elements of the plan, and that'll be identified in the contract. So I'm going to try and get a draft contract within a week or so we can be ready. Hopefully, town meeting will pass the article. But they did approve the full $60,000. They'll manage how they bill it back to themselves based on their fiscal year, so it's getting divvied up 50-50, but we still get the full $60,000. That won't affect us at all. I talked with Zach today, the finance director. In fact, I included him in the return email, so he saw this. So he's satisfied that that's a doable thing in terms of managing the funding. But yeah, the full amount was 163, and with the 60, our article, I have to read it again to make sure that it has the right amount. It should say 103.
Yeah, it did say 103. I did see it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we're good there. So the other side of the coin is how many times or when we would have to go to the FinCom, because they have to report on all the articles in the warrant anyway. And certainly, we want to make sure they're on board with the funding, even though we had tried to give the capital subcommittee a heads up. I don't think it's a capital item, but nonetheless, the capital subcommittee and the chairman had heard all of that stuff. So we're trying to set something up so you and I or one or the other of us can show up however many times that takes. And we'll probably have to comment on the rezoning, although they should just refer that to sponsor as well. So within the next week or two, it's going to get hectic.
Yep. Yeah, we'll just keep me informed, and we'll move forward with that. I didn't have anything else. Anyone else have any new business?
Your next meeting's on the 17th.
Yep. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Chris to adjourn.
I'll second
Joe seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing not, all those in favor will signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous at 4. Thank you and good evening.